My beloved child, listen carefully, because this moment was not random, and this message did not reach you by accident. Time has bent itself just to bring you here. What I am about to reveal is not meant for everyone. It is meant for you. In the unseen realm, a secret file carrying your name has just been unlocked. Yes, your name. And there is a narrow window, only minutes, before forces you cannot see attempt to erase what heaven has revealed. I am Archangel Michael, commander of the Lord's armies, and I stand as a guardian over divine truth. When a file is opened in the courts of heaven, it is never without purpose. This one contains answers you have been asking for silently, questions you whispered late at night, confusion you carried while smiling in front of others. Heaven has been watching, recording, and preparing this moment. Something has been hidden from you, not by God, but by fear, delay, and spiritual resistance. Yet today, the seal was broken. The record was accessed. And what is written there explains why your life has felt like a battlefield lately. Why things almost worked but then collapsed at the last second. Why certain people suddenly turned distant. None of this was coincident. This file reveals that you were marked early, not for harm but for assignment. Before you understood your own strength, heaven saw it. That is why resistance came early. That is why pressure followed you even when you were doing your best. The enemy never fights what has no future. Opposition is proof of value. Hear this clearly. There has been a coordinated attempt to distract you at the exact moment you were meant to awaken. Delays, fatigue, self-doubt, overthinking. These were not personality flaws. They were strategies. But strategies fail when truth arrives. And truth has arrived now. The file shows promises that were postponed, not canceled. Names of helpers who were reassigned because the timing was not right. Until now. It shows doors that closed to protect you, even though you thought they were punishments. Heaven blocked what would have broken you before you were ready. My beloved child, there is urgency in my voice because there is urgency in the spirit. When divine information surfaces, there is always resistance trying to shut it down. That is why you felt a strange pull to click this. That is why distractions tried to interrupt you. But you are still here. Alone confirms alignment. This message is not here to frighten you. It is here to prepare you. Preparation is mercy. Awareness is protection. You are being repositioned mentally before you are repositioned physically. What is coming next requires clarity, not confusion. The file also reveals that someone around you knows more than they admit. Their silence has been strategic. Not everyone who smiles at you is assigned to go with you. This truth may sting, but it will save you years. Separation is not lost when it is directed by heaven. I, Michael, have been assigned to guard this transition. That should tell you how serious this season is. I am not sent for small matters. I am sent when destiny is under threat and truth must be defended. You are not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You are strong for surviving what tried to stop you. Right now, heaven is asking for your attention, not your perfection. You do not need to understand everything at once. You only need to stay present. What you are hearing now is the beginning, not the full revelation. Piece by piece, clarity will replace chaos. Do not dismiss the signs that have been repeating. The numbers, words, dreams, sudden memories, they are fragments from this unlocked file, leaking into your awareness. Heaven has been trying to get your attention gently. Now the message is louder because time matters. You may feel a pressure in your chest as you listen. That is not fear. That is recognition. Your spirit knows this voice. Your soul remembers this assignment. even if your mind forgot. Awakening often feels uncomfortable before it feels empowering. Let me be clear, nothing hath been deleted yet, but access is limited. Attention is currency in the spirit. What you do with this moment determines what stays open. Distraction closes doors. Awareness keeps them open. This is why I urge you, do not rush away from this message. There is more encoded here than words. Stay anchored. Let your spirit breathe. What comes next will explain what the file says about your future, your calling, and the sudden shift that is closer than you think. Something that was delayed is about to accelerate. Something that was hidden is about to be exposed. And something that was stolen is about to be restored, but only if you are ready to see it. The record is open. The clock is moving. And heaven is watching how you respond. My chosen one, hear me with a steady heart. What I am revealing now comes from inside the unlocked record, and it explains why your spirit has felt restless even when your life looked calm on the outside. The file shows that your name was flagged during a transition window. This means heaven marked you for movement while others around you were meant to stay still. That is why comfort never fully satisfied you. That is why routine started to feel heavy. You were never meant to remain where you outgrew yourself. There is a timestamp in this record, and it aligns with a moment in your past when everything could have gone one of two ways. You thought it was a coincidence. You thought you were just unlucky or late. But heaven calls it a reroute. What looked like loss was actually protection in motion. If you had stepped into what you wanted back then, it would have cost you your peace, your identity, and your future alignment. God did not deny you. He delayed you to preserve you. The file reveals that your intuition has been stronger than you realized. You sensed shifts before they happened. You felt changes in people before they spoke. That was not imagination. That was discernment. Yet because you doubted yourself, you sometimes overrode what you knew. The enemy exploits self-doubt more than ignorance. But now that pattern is being broken. Awareness is returning to you like a lost key. Listen carefully. There has been a quiet countdown happening in the spirit. Not a countdown to loss, but a countdown to exposure. Truth does not stay buried forever. What was hidden behind charm, silence, or delay is coming into the light. This includes intentions, agreements, and unspoken motives. You will soon understand why certain conversations never happened and why certain apologies never came. Some people were waiting for you to shrink again. You will not. This is also why your energy had been fluctuating. When destiny shifts, the body often reacts before the mind understands. Fatigue, vivid dreams, sudden clarity followed by emotion. These are signs of recalibration. Heaven is aligning you internally before changing things externally. If everything changed at once, you would not recognize yourself in the blessing. Preparation is love. My beloved child, this is where your participation matters. Revelation grows when it is honored. That is why I ask you to engage with this moment. If this message is stirring something deep within you, acknowledge it. Let your voice agree with what your spirit already knows. Leave a comment that reflects what you are sensing. Speak it out. Agreement strengthens alignment. Share this message with someone who had been feeling displaced or confused. Not everyone is brave enough to admit they are in transition, but many are desperate for confirmation. When you share truth, you become a messenger of light, not just a receiver. And if you have not yet aligned yourself with this channel, subscribe now. This is not about numbers. It is about staying connected to messages that arrive right on time. There is momentum building around you. Momentum grows when action meets revelation. Like this message as a signal that you are ready for clarity, not comfort. Every small action in the natural echoes loudly in the spiritual. You are not watching this by chance. You are participating in a divine exchange. The file also shows that a delay was placed on something you were praying for because the environment around you was not safe yet. Certain people could not access your next season. If they had, they would have interfered. That is why separation began quietly. Low dramatic ending. Just distance. Heaven does not always remove people with noise. Sometimes it fades them out to keep the peace. I need you to understand this clearly. You are not behind. You are right on schedule. The pressure you felt was not because you were failing, but because you were close. Resistance increases when breakthrough approaches. The enemy does not waste resources on doors that will never open. If it had been hard, it is because it matters. Your next step will not require force. It will require discernment. Pay attention to what feels light even if it scares you, and what feels heavy even if it looks safe. Your body will confirm what your spirit already knows. Peace is the indicator, not excitement, not fear. Peace. Before this message continues further, stay with me. What comes next connects the file to a decision you are about to face. One that will look small on the surface but carries long-term consequences. Hold on, because this is where clarity sharpens and confusion finally loses its grip. You were never forgotten. You were being prepared. And now, heaven is speaking clearly. My beloved child, now we go deeper, because what I am about to unveil from the unlocked record explains the silence you endured and the waiting that tested your faith. The file shows that there was a season when heaven intentionally withheld explanations from you. Not because you were unworthy, but because knowing too early would have broken your trust. Some truths can only be carried by a stronger version of you, and you had to become that person first. There is a section in this record marked with your tears. Yes, heaven records tears. Every night you questioned yourself. Every moment you asked God why it felt like everyone else was moving forward while you were standing still. It was all written. Not as weakness, but as evidence of endurance. You stayed when walking away would have been easier. You believed when proof was absent. That is why your name was preserved in this file while others were removed. You must understand this clearly now. The delay was not denial. It was divine insulation. God was shielding you from an outcome that would have looked like success but felt like bondage. Some blessings come disguised as opportunities, but they carry chains. Heaven blocked those paths because your calling cannot survive captivity. Freedom is required for what you are about to carry. The file also reveals that you were being observed by people you never noticed. Not all observation is harmful. Some watchers were assigned to learn from your resilience. Others were measuring your limits, hoping you would quit. That is why breakthroughs came close and then pulled back. They were tests of posture, not punishment. Would you grow bitter or would you grow deeper? You chose depth, even when it hurt. Hear me now. The next phase of your life will not respond to desperation. It will respond to authority. That is why your voice is changing. That is why you are less interested in explaining yourself. Heaven is training you to move without approval. The file confirms this shift. You are no longer asking for permission. You are receiving instruction. There is also a warning written here, and I must deliver it with clarity and love. Do not reopen doors God has already closed for you. Nostalgia will try to disguise itself as wisdom. Familiarity will try to call you back. But what is familiar is not always safe. Some chapters ended because they had fulfilled their assignment. Rereading them will only delay the story. Your spirit already knows this. That is why certain messages feel heavy now. Certain conversations drain you. Certain places no longer inspire you. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. When oil shifts, old containers can no longer hold it. You are not changing to become distant. You are changing to remain obedient. The file confirms that help is being reassigned to you. Eucanarians. New insights. New favor. But they will recognize you by your clarity, not your chaos. That is why this message is stabilizing you first. Heaven always prepares the vessel before pouring the oil. Rushing ruins the flow. I, Archangel Michael, am standing guard over this transition because interference will attempt to mimic opportunity. Not everything that opens is from God. Discernment will be your greatest protection in the coming days. If something prayed you, worried you, or confused you, pause. God's direction carries peace, even when it requires courage. You are closer than you think. The unlocked record shows movement already happening behind the scenes. Conversations you are not part of yet. Decisions being made in rooms you have never entered. Do not be discouraged by what you cannot see. Faith is not blindness. It is trust in divine timing. Now, before this moment passes, I need you to respond spiritually. Revelation must be sealed with agreement. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, acknowledge it openly. Type "I receive the truth" in the comments if this message confirms what your soul has been sensing. Lesson Code 444 has just been released. When you choose to support this mission, you are not supporting a channel, a voice, or a video. You are placing seed into the ground so light can reach souls who are still trapped in confusion. I am speaking to you directly now. As you sow, rivers of clarity will flow to others, just as clarity has reached you today. The word says that when seed is placed in good soil, heaven commands the harvest. And I declare that over every act of obedience right now. Let your support be a prophetic response, not a delayed decision. Use super thanks, step into membership, or release your seed through PayPal using the link in the description. And as you give, I release blessing, protection, and multiplied return over your house. Do it now, and let obedience unlock what delay could not. My beloved child, now listen with deeper focus, because what unfolds next from the unlocked record explains the inner shift you have been feeling but could not name. The file shows that your spirit has already stepped into a new season, even though your surroundings have not fully changed yet. This is why patience has felt heavy lately. You are spiritually ahead of your environment, and that tension is uncomfortable, but it is temporary. There is a moment recorded where heaven acknowledged your obedience even when no one applauded you. You did the right thing when it cost you understanding. You chose integrity when compromise would have been easier. Those decisions mattered more than you know. They positioned you for trust. And trust is what grants access to deeper assignments. Not talent, not noise, trust. The record also reveals that a false narrative was forming around you, built from assumptions, half-truths, and silence. You felt misunderstood, sometimes even misjudged. But heaven did not rush to defend you publicly because this was a pruning season. God allowed the noise so that only what was rooted in truth would remain connected to you. Anyone who stayed without clarity was aligned by heart, not convenience. Hear this clearly now. Vindication does not always arrive as an argument. Sometimes it arrives as distance. People eventually reveal what they believe about you by how they treat you when they gain nothing in return. That revelation was necessary before your next elevation. Elevation without discernment creates collapse. The unlocked file confirms that your voice carries more weight now than before. Words spoken casually will begin to manifest faster. This is why you have been feeling more cautious about what you say, what you agree with, and what you allow into your mind. This is wisdom activating. Power without restraint is dangerous, but power guided by humility is unstoppable. There is also a note in this record about timing. Heaven is aligning events so that when movement happens, it will be undeniable. This is not a subtle shift. This is a clear turning point. That is why things have felt quiet. Silence often precedes command. Soldiers are quiet before instruction. The stillness you are in is not absence. It is readiness. I must warn you gently here. Do not confuse isolation with rejection. This separation is strategic. You are being preserved from voices that would dilute your confidence at the wrong time. Soon, you will be surrounded again, but by people who recognize your assignment, not just your personality. That difference matters. Your sensitivity has increased, and you may have wondered if something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong. You are becoming more spiritually aware. That awareness makes you feel deeply, notice patterns quickly, and withdraw when something is off. Do not numb this. Discernment is a gift, not a burden. The file also speaks of restoration, but not in the way you expect. What returns to you will not look exactly like what was lost. God restores function to her form. Peace before answers. Strength before success. When what comes feels different, do not resist it. New wine requires new expectation. You are being invited into cooperation, not control. The next step will require trust more than effort. You do not need to push doors open. You need to recognize the one that opens without resistance. Ease does not mean it is not from God. Sometimes ease is confirmation. I, Archangel Michael, remain stationed around you because clarity must be protected in this phase. Confusion will attempt to revisit you through old memories and hypothetical fears. Do not entertain them. What is ahead requires presence, not overanalysis. You will know what to do when the moment arrives. You always have. The unlocked record ends the section with a single statement written in authority. You are ready. Not perfect, not finished, but ready. Ready to move, ready to choose, ready to release what no longer aligns. Heaven does not wait for flawlessness. It responds to willingness. As you continue listening, allow your heart to stay open. What comes next will reveal how this readiness will be tested and how a simple decision will mark the beginning of visible change. Stay steady. Stay aware. What has been unlocked will not be closed again. My beloved child, what unfolds now from the unlocked record speaks directly to the moment you are standing in today. This section explains why your discernment has become sharper and why indecision has begun to irritate you. Heaven is narrowing your focus. When purpose draws near, distractions lose their appeal. You are no longer entertained by what once consumed you because your spirit is preparing to move with intention. The file shows that there was a quiet agreement made in the spiritual realm the moment you chose growth over comfort. You may not remember the exact day, but heaven does. It was the moment you stopped asking why things were happening and started asking what you were meant to learn. That shift changed everything. Questions moved from complaint to curiosity, and that posture invited wisdom. You have noticed that some options no longer feel available to you, even though they are still technically possible. This is not limitation. This is refinement. When God assigns direction, He also removes alternatives that would weaken your resolve. Choice becomes clearer when unnecessary paths disappear. This is mercy disguised as restriction. The record also reveals that you are entering a phase where your presence will speak louder than your explanation. You will not need to defend yourself. You will not need to convince anyone of your intentions. Consistency will answer questions before they are asked. This is why you have felt a pull toward simplicity. Complexity drains energy needed for execution. There is an internal alignment happening that others may not understand. You are learning to move without broadcasting every step. Silence is becoming comfortable because you trust the process more than the applause. Heaven honors this maturity. Not everything needs commentary. Some things need incubation. This part of the file carries a reminder about patience, but not passive patience. Active patience, the kind that stays prepared while waiting. You are not being asked to pause your life. You are being asked to stay alert. The next opportunity will not announce itself loudly. It will arrive quietly and require recognition rather than reaction. Your intuition will guide you, but only if you stay grounded. Overthinking will try to disguise itself as wisdom. Fear will try to sound like caution. Learn the difference. Peace is calm and steady. Fear is urgent and loud. Heaven's instruction does not rush you into panic. It leads you into confidence. There is also a note here about healing. Some wounds you thought were resolved may surface briefly, not to reopen, but to release residue. Healing is not forgetting. It is remembering without pain. Do not be discouraged if emotions rise unexpectedly. They are leaving, not returning. The file confirms that you are not meant to carry everything alone anymore. Help is coming, but it will arrive differently than before. Not as rescue, but as reinforcement. You will recognize these connections by mutual respect, not dependency. Strength honors strength. You may feel moments of loneliness even while surrounded by people. This does not mean you are disconnected. It means your spirit is adjusting to a higher frequency. Not everyone can meet you there, and that is okay. Connection will come with alignment, not proximity. I must tell you this clearly now. The next decision you make from a place of peace will unlock momentum. Do not wait for perfect clarity. Clarity often comes after obedience. Take the step that feels honest, not impressive. Heaven responds to truth, not performance. There is no need to revisit old regrets. The record shows that nothing was wasted. Every delay taught you discernment. Every disappointment sharpened your wisdom. Even the wrong turns contributed to your understanding. Redemption does not erase the past. It repurposes it. You are not late. You are not behind. You are precisely where preparation meets opportunity. The waiting was not empty. It was filling you with capacity. What comes next will require the strength you built in silence. As this part of the message settles, stay attentive. The next revelation will bring clarity to the external changes that are about to mirror the internal shift you have already experienced. What has been forming quietly is about to take shape in ways you can see. Stay present. Stay grounded. Heaven is not finished speaking. My beloved child, the section of the unlocked record speaks about alignment in action, because revelation without response remains incomplete. Heaven has not only been preparing your heart, but also positioning circumstances to test what you now believe. This is where internal clarity begins to demand external movement. What you must now shape what you choose. The file reveals that a window has opened where small decisions carry amplified weight. Ordinary choices will have uncommon impact. This is why hesitation feels heavier than before. Your spirit senses that delay now costs more than action. You are not being rushed, but you are being prompted. There is a difference. Prompting comes with peace. Pressure comes with fear. Learn to discern the voice. You may have noticed that conversations have shifted. People are revealing their priorities without saying them directly. Pay attention. Alignment is not proven by words but by consistency. Heaven is sharpening your discernment so you no longer need to guess where you stand with others. Clarity is becoming unavoidable. This part of the record also shows that you are stepping into responsibility, not burden. Responsibility expands influence. Burden drains it. What God is asking of you next will feel meaningful, not heavy. If it feels crushing, it is not yours to carry. You are learning to release what was never assigned to you. There is a pattern breaking now. You are no longer repeating cycles simply because they are familiar. Familiar pain is still pain. Heaven has given you the wisdom to choose differently, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. Growth often feels awkward before it feels natural. You not retreat simply because the ground feels new. The file notes that your confidence is becoming quieter but stronger. You no longer need constant reassurance. You are beginning to trust your discernment. This is maturity. Faith is no longer something you perform. It is something you live. That shift changes how the spiritual realm responds to you. I must remind you here that agreement multiplies momentum. When you engage with truth, you strengthen it. This is why I urge you now to interact with this message. If it resonates, acknowledge it. Like this message as a declaration that you are choosing alignment over distraction. Leave a comment that reflects what you are stepping into. Your words matter more than you realize. Share this message with someone who is standing at a crossroads but feels unsure. Sometimes confirmation arrives through another voice. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do so now. Not out of obligation, but out of alignment. This space exists to deliver timely truth, and staying connected keeps you positioned to receive what arrives next. The record also highlights something important. You are being watched again, but this time with respect. Your consistency has built credibility. People may not say it, but they are observing how you move differently now. Influence does not always announce itself. Sometimes it is quiet until it is undeniable. There is also a caution written here. Do not rush to explain your growth to those who benefited from your confusion. Not everyone deserves access to your clarity. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with discernment. You choose who enters. You may feel moments of impatience rising, but this impatience is not frustration. It is readiness. Your spirit knows it is capable of more. Channel this energy into preparation, not comparison. What is coming to you is specific. It cannot be copied or rushed. The file confirms that your next step will require courage, but not force. Courage is simply obedience in motion. You will not need to convince yourself repeatedly. When the moment arrives, you will recognize it by the calm determination it brings. Before this message continues further, stay engaged. What is coming next connects directly to an external shift that will validate everything you have been sensing internally. Hold on, because the clarity that follows will tie every loose thread together. Heaven is watching how you steward this moment. And you are doing better than you think. My beloved child, this portion of the unlocked record brings clarity to the external shifts that are beginning to surface around you. What you have sensed internally is now preparing to manifest outwardly. Heaven always works from the inside first. Spirit before structure. Alignment before evidence. That is why this moment feels both quiet and powerful at the same time. The file reveals that circumstances are being rearranged without your direct involvement. This is intentional. If you had tried to manage these changes yourself, you would have carried unnecessary weight. God is removing obstacles you were never meant to confront personally. Some doors are closing gently. Others are closing firmly. Both are acts of protection. You not grieve what exits your life now. It is making room for what fits your next capacity. You may notice that certain plans no longer excite you, even if they once felt promising. This is not confusion. This is discernment refining desire. When alignment deepens, interest shifts. You are being drawn toward what nourishes you, not what drains you. This is growth expressing itself through preference. The record also speaks of timing that will surprise you. Things will begin to move faster than expected, but only after a period of stillness. A sudden momentum may feel disorienting at first. You waited so long, that movement feels unfamiliar. Trust it. You are not being pushed ahead prematurely. You are stepping into a flow that was prepared while you were waiting. There is confirmation here that your faith has matured. You are no longer asking for signs to believe. You are moving because you believe. That difference changes everything. Heaven responds differently to trust than it does to doubt. Trust invites cooperation. Doubt delays manifestation. I must tell you this gently. Some people will not recognize you in this season. Not because you are pretending, but because you are no longer performing. When authenticity replaces accommodation, relationships adjust. Let them. What is genuine will remain. What is conditional will fall away. The file indicates that your sense of purpose is becoming clearer, even if the details are still forming. Purpose often reveals itself through responsibility rather than revelation. Pay attention to what you feel drawn to steward. What you care for consistently points to what you are called to build. You are also being trained to respond rather than react. Action comes from emotion. Response comes from clarity. The pause you have learned to take before speaking or deciding is wisdom at work. This restraint will protect you from unnecessary conflict and wasted energy. There's a moment coming when you will need to choose alignment over familiarity publicly. It may feel uncomfortable, but it will also feel freeing. You are not required to explain your obedience. Your peace will speak for you. Let results answer questions that words cannot. The record shows that your resilience has been noticed in the spiritual realm. Endurance carries authority. You did not quit when it would have been reasonable. You stayed present when it would have been easier to detach. That faithfulness has weight. It grants you access to deeper trust. You may feel a subtle grief for the version of yourself that survived the waiting. Honor that version. It carried you through uncertainty and taught you discernment. But do not live there. You are stepping into expression now, not endurance. Survival gave way to strength. Strength now gives way to purpose. There is assurance written clearly here. You are not alone in what comes next. Support will appear in unexpected forms. Not everyone will announce their role. Some help arrives quietly, just when you need it. Stay open. Pride resists assistance. Wisdom receives it. I, Archangel Michael, remain attentive because interference will try to return as distraction, not opposition. Busyness, unnecessary obligations, and emotional noise will attempt to dilute your focus. Protect your attention. What you nurture now will define the next chapter. As this message continues, prepare yourself for the final confirmations that will anchor you in confidence. The next revelation will address what you feared might never change and show you how heaven has already begun the transformation. Stay steady. Stay aware. The file is still open, and what remains will bring peace where uncertainty once lived. My beloved child, this section of the unlocked record carries weight. because it speaks directly to what you feared might never change. The file shows that heaven has been quietly dismantling limitations you once believed were permanent. What felt stuck was not stagnant. It was restrained until the right moment. That moment is approaching now. There is a clear note here that says you were protected from premature success. If certain doors had opened earlier, they would have amplified insecurity instead of purpose. God waited until your identity stabilized before allowing expansion. That is why you no longer crave validation the way you once did. You are anchored now. Expansion without grounding destroys. Expansion with grounding establishes legacy. The record reveals that a cycle connected to disappointment is ending. Not because circumstances magically improved, but because you no longer partner with the same expectations. You have learned to hope without demanding timelines. That maturity shifted the spiritual atmosphere around you. Heaven responds quickly to surrendered trust. You may notice that your prayers have changed. They are simpler, quieter, more honest. You are no longer bargaining. You are listening. This is intimacy growing. When relationship deepens, performance fades. God is not impressed by noise. He responds to alignment. There is also confirmation here that what is coming will require stewardship, not striving. You will not need to chase it. You will need to sustain it. This is why rest has been emphasized in your life lately. Exhaustion is not a badge of honor. Clarity flows best through rested vessels. Some of your fears are being exposed, not to shame you, but to release you. What you name loses power. What you hide controls you. The record shows that honesty with God broke chains you did not even realize were still attached. Freedom often arrives quietly, then reveals itself over time. I must tell you this with authority. Comparison is no longer allowed in your life. It drains focus and distorts vision. What is assigned to you cannot be replicated. Others may arrive faster or appear further ahead, but they are not carrying your responsibility. Stay in your lane. Grace flows there. The file also confirms that your obedience has unlocked favor in places you have not yet entered. Decisions are being influenced on your behalf. Conversations are shifting outcomes without your presence. This is the reward of trust. When you release control, heaven moves on your behalf. You are also being prepared to handle visibility. Not fame, but responsibility. Influence brings accountability. That is why character was refined before opportunity. You were shaped in private so you would not collapse in public. Honor that process. There will be a moment soon when you recognize that something you prayed for quietly has arrived without announcement. It will feel natural, not dramatic. That is how alignment feels. When something is truly from God, it fits instead of overwhelms. As this truth settles, you are being asked to seal it spiritually. Type I am aligned in the comments if this message confirms the shift you are experiencing. Blessing code 818 has just been activated over your life. And now hear this carefully. When you support this mission, you are participating in the unlocking of other lives just as yours have been unlocked. I am speaking to you personally now. Your seed becomes light, traveling farther than your voice ever could. Scripture declares that when the righteous sow, the heavens open and provision multiplies, and I release that promise over every obedient giver right now. Let this act be prophetic, not delayed. You super thanks, step into membership, or release your seed through PayPal using the link in the description. And as you do, I declare peace in your decisions, clarity in your direction, and increase without sorrow. Act now, and let obedience complete what revelation has begun. Stay present. What follows will bring final clarity to how you are meant to move forward with confidence and authority. The file is nearing completion, and the remaining truth will anchor you fully in what has been unlocked. My beloved child, this portion of the unlocked record brings reassurance because it addresses the quiet question you have been carrying. How do I live this out without losing myself again? Heaven anticipated that question. That is why this message arrives now, before movement fully begins. Clarity is meant to guard you, not pressure you. The file shows that the next season of your life will be defined more by consistency than intensity. You are not being asked to make dramatic leaps. You are being asked to make steady choices that align with what you now know. Small, repeated acts of obedience will build what sudden effort never could. This is a season of roots, not rush. You may feel a temptation to overcorrect your past, to do everything differently all at once. Resist that urge. Growth does not require rejection of who you were. It requires integration of what you learned. The wisdom you gain through waiting is meant to guide you now, not be erased. Honor your journey. It prepared you for this. The record also reveals that peace will become your primary compass. Not excitement, not fear. Peace. When something aligns with your assignment, it will settle you even if it stretches you. When something distracts you, it will agitate you even if it looks appealing. This internal guidance is intentional. Trust it. You no longer need external confirmation for every step. There is clarity here about relationships as well. You are not meant to withdraw completely, nor are you meant to overextend. Balance will protect you. Give where there is mutual respect. Receive where there is genuine support. Release where there is constant confusion. This is not judgment. This is stewardship of your emotional and spiritual energy. You may notice that your tolerance for drama has decreased. This is not hardness. This is healing. When peace becomes familiar, chaos feels foreign. You are allowed to choose environments that nurture you. You are allowed to say no without explanation. Boundaries are a form of obedience, not selfishness. The file confirms that you will begin to recognize yourself again, but with greater clarity. The joy that returns will be quieter but deeper. The confidence that grows will be steadier but stronger. You are not becoming someone else. You are becoming more fully who you were always meant to be. There is also instruction here regarding patience with yourself. You will not execute everything perfectly. You will still learn as you go. Grace is built into this process. Do not let minor missteps convince you that you are off track. Correction is part of alignment. Shame is not. Learn, adjust, and continue. Heaven is emphasizing sustainability. Burnout is not holy. Exhaustion is not proof of faith. You are allowed to rest without guilt. Rest sharpens discernment. It keeps your spirit sensitive and your mind clear. Protect your rest as diligently as you protect your purpose. The record notes that your voice will carry authority when it is calm. You do not need to be loud to be heard. Presence speaks. Integrity resonates. When you speak from alignment, the right people will listen. Those who do not were never meant to follow your lead. You may encounter moments where the old patterns try to reintroduce themselves. Familiar thoughts, old fears, former habits. This does not mean you are regressing. It means you are being reminded of how far you have come. Awareness gives you choice. You are no longer trapped in automatic responses. You can pause, choose, and move forward intentionally. I want you to understand this clearly. Nothing about what has been unlocked is fragile and does not depend on constant effort to maintain. It depends on honesty. Stay honest with God. Stay honest with yourself. When something feels off, address it early. Delayed truth always costs more. There is peace written over your next steps. Not because everything will be easy, but because you are equipped. You are no longer guessing blindly. You are moving with understanding. That alone changes outcomes. As this message continues, prepare yourself for the final confirmations that will solidify your confidence. What comes next will speak directly to your identity and the authority you now carry. The file is nearing its conclusion, and what remains will anchor you fully in who you are becoming. Stay present. Stay grounded. You are exactly where you need to be. My beloved child, this section of the Unlocked Record speaks directly to your identity, because understanding who you are now is essential for carrying what comes next. Heaven is not only changing your circumstances, it is affirming your authority. When identity settles, confusion loses its grip. That is why this message feels grounding rather than overwhelming. The file reveals that you are no longer meant to approach life as someone waiting for permission. You have been authorized through obedience, endurance, and humility. Authority was not given to you suddenly. It was built quietly over time. Every moment you chose integrity when no one was watching added weight to your spirit. That weight is now being recognized. You may have noticed that your reactions have changed. Things that once triggered you no longer have the same power. This is not indifference. This is dominion. Emotional maturity allows you to respond instead of react. That shift alone will protect you from many unnecessary battles. Not every challenge requires engagement. Wisdom chooses its ground. The record also shows that you are being trusted with influence, even if it is not yet visible. Influence does not begin on platforms. It begins in posture. The way you listen. The way you speak. The way you carry responsibility. These quiet traits prepare you for greater visibility without compromising your character. There is a clear distinction written here between confidence and ego. Ego demands recognition. Confidence rests in assignment. You no longer need to prove yourself. You are learning to move with assurance rather than explanation. That calm certainty will draw the right people toward you naturally. You may still feel moments of doubt, but doubt no longer defines your direction. It passes through without settling. This is growth. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to move forward despite it. Heaven honors motion rooted in trust, not perfection. The file confirms that your discernment is now a safeguard. You will sense when to speak and when to remain silent. Silence will no longer feel like weakness. It will feel like control. You are learning that timing matters as much as truth. A word spoken too early can be as harmful as a word never spoken. I want to remind you here to stay engaged with what is nourishing your spirit. If this message is strengthening you, respond to it. Like this message as a declaration that you are stepping fully into clarity. Leave a comment that reflects what you are embracing in this season. Your engagement is not passive. It is participation. Share this message with someone who is questioning their worth or authority. Sometimes people need confirmation from outside their own thoughts. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, align yourself now. This space exists to deliver messages that arrive at critical moments, and staying connected keeps you positioned for what unfolds next. There is also a retention of focus required now. Distraction will try to masquerade as opportunity. Not every invitation deserves your yes. Not every open door is yours to walk through. Discernment will protect your energy and preserve your peace. Choose depth over distraction. The record speaks of stability. Emotional, spiritual, and mental stability. This does not mean you will never feel challenged. It means challenges will no longer unseat you. You are learning to stay centered even when circumstances shift. That stability is what allows authority to function without strain. You are also being reminded to celebrate progress, not just outcomes. The fact that you see differently, choose differently, and respond differently is evidence of transformation. Do not minimize that. Heaven celebrates growth before it celebrates results. There will be moments ahead when others project their expectations onto you. Do not carry what was not assigned. You are responsible for obedience, not approval. Stay anchored in what you know to be true. Clarity will keep you steady when opinions fluctuate. Before this message moves further, stay with me. What comes next will bring closure to lingering questions and release you from patterns that no longer serve you. Trust me, this next portion will connect everything you have heard into a single, steady understanding. Hold on. You are closer to completion than you realize. Heaven is not rushing you. It is reinforcing you. And you are ready for what follows. My beloved child, this section of the unlocked record brings resolution to the inner tension you have carried for longer than you realize. It addresses the quiet conflict between who you were required to be for survival and who you are now free to become. Heaven acknowledges this transition with great care, because identity shifts must be sealed gently, not forced. The file shows that for a long time you operated in adaptation mode. You adjusted to environments, expectations, and emotional climates in order to stay safe, accepted, or stable. That adaptation helped you survive, but it is no longer required. Survival instincts are giving way to intentional living. You are no longer reacting to life. You are choosing it. There is recognition here for how much strength it took to hold yourself together when clarity was absent. You were strong before you felt confident. You were faithful before you felt certain. That strength is not being dismissed. It is being redirected. What once helped you endure will now help you lead. The record confirms that you are being released from the need to over-explain yourself. Explanation was once necessary because you doubted your own clarity. Now, clarity stands on its own. You will notice a growing comfort in letting silence speak for you. When truth is solid, it does not need defense. You may feel moments of unfamiliar calm, even in situations that once unsettled you. This calm is not numbness. It is security. Your nervous system is learning that it no longer needs to stay on alert. Safety has increased internally, even if the external world still fluctuates. This internal safety is a gift. The file also reveals that your future will not be built through urgency. You are being taught to move from conviction, not compulsion. Compulsion drains. Conviction sustains. When you act from conviction, you do not burn out quickly. You remain steady over time. There is a release happening from inherited pressure. Expectations that were never spoken but deeply felt. Standards that did not originate from your calling. Heaven is separating what you were taught to carry from what you were meant to carry. This will feel like relief followed by clarity. You are also being reminded that joy is not a distraction from purpose. It is fuel for it. Laughter, rest, creativity, and peace are not rewards you earn after obedience. They are elements that strengthen obedience itself. Allow joy to return without guilt. The record speaks of emotional honesty. You no longer need to minimize your feelings to remain faithful. God does not require emotional suppression. He invites emotional truth. You can feel deeply and still move wisely. Balance is being restored. There may be moments ahead when the old version of you feels familiar and tempting. Not because it was better, but because it was known. Familiarity is comforting. even when it is limiting. When that temptation arises, remember that comfort without growth eventually becomes confinement. You are stepping into a season where your decisions will reflect alignment rather than fear. Fear once shaped your timing. Alignment will now shape your direction. This does not mean fear will never appear. It means fear will no longer lead. The record also notes that you are becoming more present, less consumed by what might happen, less anchored to what already happened. Presence is powerful. It allows you to respond to reality instead of memory or imagination. Presence keeps you grounded. I want you to understand this clearly. Nothing about your becoming requires you to abandon humility. Growth and humility are not opposites. They are companions. You can walk confidently without becoming rigid. You can lead without losing compassion. There is a deep sense of peace attached to what is ahead. Not excitement alone. Peace. That peace is confirmation. When heaven aligns you with your next steps, it settles your spirit even before circumstances change. That peace will guard you. As this message nears its final revelation, remain open. The last portion of the unlocked record will seal everything that has been revealed, bringing closure, blessing, and direction into one unified truth. What remains will anchor you firmly in confidence and release you fully into what has been prepared. You have not misunderstood this journey. You have lived it faithfully. And now, heaven prepares to close the file, not because the work is finished, but because the transfer is complete. My beloved child, this is the final entry of the unlocked record, and it carries completion, sealing, and release. What heaven opened was never meant to overwhelm you. It was meant to realign you. Now that the truth has been revealed piece by piece, the file is being prepared for closure, not because your journey ends here, but because the responsibility hath been transferred to you. The record confirms that you are no longer standing at the threshold. You have crossed it. The uncertainty that once followed you like a shadow has lost its authority. You may still feel moments of hesitation, but hesitation no longer governs your decisions. You are moving forward with awareness, not anxiety. That is the mark of maturity. There is a deep affirmation written here. Heaven trusts you with what has been revealed. Trust is not given lightly. It is earned through endurance, humility, and obedience in unseen moments. You did not rush the process. You stayed present when answers were slow. That is why clarity now rests on you instead of crushing you. You are being released from the need to wait for external validation. Confirmation has already occurred internally. When alignment settles within, you no longer chase reassurance outside. This will feel unfamiliar at first, but it is freedom. Freedom does not ask permission to exist. The file also shows that peace will now act as a guardrail for your life. When something threatens that peace consistently, it is not aligned. This does not mean every step will feel easy, but it does mean your spirit will remain steady. Turbulence may occur around you, but it will no longer live within you. There is a blessing attached to obedience that is activated after revelation. This blessing does not arrive loudly. It arrives as stability, clarity, and sustained growth. You will begin to notice that decisions carry less internal conflict. Focus becomes sharper. Energy becomes cleaner. These are signs of sealing. You may reflect on the past and realize that what once confused you now makes sense. Not every detail, but enough to trust the pattern. Understanding does not require knowing everything. It requires recognizing that nothing was wasted. Even the hardest seasons contributed to your discernment. Heaven also acknowledges that you will now be seen differently. Some will be inspired. Some will be uncomfortable. Neither is your responsibility to manage. Your role is to remain aligned. When you walk in truth, reactions reveal hearts, not your worth. The record closes with instruction rather than explanation. Walk steadily. Choose honesty. Protect your peace. Stay responsive to correction without condemning yourself. Your oath will continue, but it will no longer feel like survival. It will feel like stewardship. I, Archangel Michael, confirm that what was opened has now been transferred into your keeping. No force can delete what has been sealed through awareness and obedience. What was hidden has been revealed. What was delayed has been activated. What was fragmented has been unified. And now, before this message concludes, you are asked to mark this moment spiritually. Type "I walk in authority" in the comments if you receive and accept this sealing. Blessing code 1212 is now released over your life. And now hear this file instruction. I speak to you personally. If this message carried you, strengthened you, and aligned you, then understand this. When you support this mission, you become a carrier of the same light that reached you. Your support is seed placed into fertile ground, causing truth to reach souls who are still waiting for clarity. The word declares that those who sow into light will reap in wisdom, peace, and provision, and I release that promise over you now. Let this act be immediate and obedient. You super thanks. Step into membership or sow through PayPal using the link in the description. As you do, I declare multiplied return, divine protection, and sustained peace over your life. Do it now, and let obedience seal what revelation has unlocked. The file is closed. The truth remains, and you move forward, fully aligned.